Hello, am I audible?
Yes, madam.
Okay, thank you.
चालू करून इंट्रोडक्शन लागतेच मला. नॉर्थ कॅप.
So, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Kindly let me know when is the right time to start.
Yes, just 2-3 minutes. Now we will start your introduction, and then you can start the presentation.
Sure.
Because already now time has been now reached. So
Right.
just now we are sharing our side presentation, and then we will start.
Right, sir. And sir, how much time I will be having?
1 to 2 was the scheduled time.
Right.
So you can have 10 minutes more again.
Okay.
For
Right.
question answer and all these things we can have.
Right.
Yeah. So dear participants, I welcome you to this third session of our STDP on computational intelligence in earthquake resistant design, organized by Department of Civil Engineering, Professor Ram Meghe, College of Engineering and Management, Badnera. Today we are with us the expert speaker, Dr. Archana Dongre ma'am. Now we will start this session. So I welcome my co-coordinator, Dr. Sarang Dhavde sir, to introduce the today's speaker, and then the speaker will start his session. Dhavde sir. Okay, kara, share kara. एक मिनिट थांबा थांबा. मला पोस्ट करायला लागेल मला. थांबा. करा, शेअर करा. आवाज मोठा आला ना, करा सुरू.
So welcome to AICT sponsored 1 week short-term training program on computational intelligence in earthquake resistant design. Today this session for Dr. Archana Dongre madam. She is working as an associate professor at Department of Civil Engineering and Environmental Engineering at North Cap University, Gurgaon, Haryana. Madam completed her UG from Mumbai University, PG and PhD from IIT Hyderabad. Previously, she worked as a professor and HOD of Department of Civil Engineering at Vidya Jyoti Institute of Technology, Hyderabad for 4 years. Developed lab worth of rupees 70 to 80 lakhs for BTech and MTech courses. She was involved in the teaching various civil engineering courses at graduate and postgraduate level. She is having currently guiding 4 PhD scholar and having number of publication in national, international journals and conference. Madam having the membership of scientific and professional societies like this Institution of Engineers, Earthquake Engineering Research Institute, American Society of Civil Engineers, organizational member of Indian Institute, Concrete Institute, National Information Center of Earthquake Engineering, NICE. Then the advisory board member for the Smart Infra, organizing committee member for 33 National Convention of Architecture and National Seminar in November 2017. International Technical Committee member for International Conference on the Advanced Engineering and Information Technology at Linton University, Malaysia. She developed a course module video lecture for strength of material subject under the Indo-US collaboration in engineering education. She was felicitated as the best professor and HOD at VJIT Hyderabad on Teachers Day and Women's Day 2016 and 2018 respectively for her contribution towards institute and overall development of department. She has received 2 Best Paper Award along with her student at international conference in Malaysia and Indonesia respectively. Madam expert in structural engineering, earthquake engineering, brick masonry building and structural health monitoring. Madam received award as a best professor and HOD at VJIT Hyderabad and other recognition. She was invited as a resource person from Acropolis group of institution Indore and the Wonder Cement during lockdown. She coordinated and participated international program for civil engineering students in Linton University, Malaysia in December 2018. She was invited as a co-chair at a USMCA conference which was organized at IIT Hyderabad in December 2018. She was invited for the expert talk on vision of sustainability in structural engineering at Pandit Deen Dayal University, Gandhinagar in March 2019. She was organized a parent seminar to spread the positive word about the importance of civil engineering at North Cap University. So today, the session for Dr. Rachana Dongre Madam, on behalf of organizing committee, I welcome to Madam and requesting to deliver her presentation. Madam.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry the introduction was a little big. I'm very simple person. So many things were given here. Just wanted to, I'm really thankful to Professor Rammege College of Engineering and Management and Professor Praveen Khandwe sir and Harle sir for inviting me here. Now I'm little interested to know who is audience. Audience, is it BTech students, MTech students, or PhD scholar?
All they are the faculty members from the colleges, and then most of them are the MTech students.
Okay. Oh, great. That's wonderful. Okay, I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah.
Just kindly wait for a moment.
Yes, yes. Yes, it is visible, ma'am.
Okay. Right. My topic, what topic I have chosen is earthquake and its effects on rural India, rural Indian structures, whichever are in rural India. Basically, my work is in the behavior of brick masonry building during earthquake. So we'll come to that topic, but starting, for 15 minutes, I just want to bring your attention to this particular, very important topic. So because brick masonry buildings, they are also part of it. So I just wanted, I'll take you through that journey first. So I always like to start my presentation with this, that we are, the whole earth. The very important part is 5 elements in nature. And being civil engineers, we are always using these elements for our structures, and there has to be balance. If that balance is not there, definitely that's what we are seeing currently, and we are whatever we are experiencing, when balance is getting disturbed, so there are so many problems. um, being civil engineers, we know now most of you are faculty, so you all are aware that so wonderful thing is all this, we take all these elements, and there are so many branches in civil engineering, and you must be expert in, one of the or more of the branches in this. So then yes, nature and human beings, there has to be, coexistence, and there has to be harmonious existence for us to sustain. And I think the sustainable word, we are using it more and more, and because everyone we are working towards that sustainable development now. So in civil engineering, yes, we always talk about it, that equation of equilibrium should be satisfied, like we heard it for 1,000 times maybe. And that is the most important thing, that how do we get that equilibrium. So equilibrium in nature, and even, while studying civil engineering also, that equilibrium we have to see. So, but current scenario is exploited Mother Earth, and then human beings are reason for that, and our existence itself is questionable, and we are currently experiencing that. Now, when we see our past, we are really blessed with great civilization. So, if you see these few examples of Nalanda University, the previous temples, and Mohenjo-daro, they were how beautiful, our civilization and our history. If we see, we witnessed the best, I think, of the history. And what's happening when we see in India, the villages. So these are some very beautiful pictures I have picked up from Google. So villages are actually very close to nature. So our work has to be in that direction, right? Whatever we are, now we see what concrete jungle everywhere, but what is our aim? We have to see to it that we have to be close to nature, and villages are really sustainable. But yes, there are some challenges. So what were the challenges, that I'll show you in coming slides. So this is example of concrete jungle. You will find so many photos on Google. So just when we see it, really feel, my God, what's happening literally? Where is the tree? If you see in these pictures. So that's what there is a total failure, in maintaining this equilibrium in nature. And why I'm showing this picture, because we are civil engineers, right? We are the leaders, we are the builders of this. So I just wanted to show this, where we are heading at. So the similar few examples of Delhi, Bangalore, Ahmedabad, and the industries and the air pollution happening. Now currently I'm sitting in Gurgaon, and where this pollution is, at Delhi, especially in highest rate. Now, apart from that, now these are the, again, this slide is showing us, other disasters, right? Road accidents, 400 per day. That is the, I think, maybe small number, and maybe reduced during a lockdown period. Excuse me. So this 150,000 people die in India because of the road accident. Again, civil engineering is connected here. Okay, that's why I'm showing. Don't think that, okay, why this slide? So, yeah. Yeah. So this is total, road accidents. Again, we are responsible. Then air pollution. So 12.4 lakh deaths happen in India. Okay, 6.1 million deaths worldwide. So we are again responsible here. Then if you remember this Chennai flood, drought, cyclones, there are so many examples where we are again connected. So are we really happy with the day-to-day life in these developed metro cities, which is full of concrete jungles? So what is happening actually, we are so used to, I'm getting everything delivered at my home. I have a cab, bus, car, everything. So much comfort we are having, we're experiencing in our life. So water is coming to me, everything is reaching to me, but we are contributor. Like civil engineering, at one side it is contributing, but at the same time somewhere we are responsible for that, for the equilibrium. Now each ton of cement is responsible for approximately 1 ton of CO2 emission, and the cement industry alone, it contributes to 7% of global CO2 emission. So this is one very big challenge in this global warming. Then over the last many years, the definition of civil engineering, people used to say directing the great resource of power in nature for the use and convenience of man. This used to be a past definition in 1991. Okay, so but now it is also not now, it is also past 2003 definition. So but that is more relevant, right? Civil engineers are the custodians of the built and natural environment. So that is a beautiful definition. So we have to see to it that this shift shows the fundamental relationship between engineers and the natural world. So we have to understand that the man and nature are not separate entities. Engineers today must design for a planet with limited natural resources, complex problems with no clear answers, and increasing environmental concerns. So we have to think and find solution. Now this is, I think, very important. I think every civil engineering student, faculty, we have to share this code of ethics for civil engineers. I share it with my students. So these are the, drafted by ASCE. So we have to, number one, that is we have to hold safety paramount for civil engineers. Then service with competence, like doctors have their oath ceremony, right? And they have to follow. So similarly, civil engineers, we are, I think, we are more important than doctors, because if one structure falls, so many death can happen. So we are more important than them. Then we have to issue true statements, very, very important, the ethical values we have to follow. Then act as a faithful agent, reputation by merit, uphold professional honor, continue professional development, and treat all persons fairly. So these are the basic values we have to follow as a civil engineer. And I know it's very challenging when you are part of industry. I know most of us are faculty, so we don't have, we actually, if you are in part of industry, then you have to really work on it. Otherwise, faculty, anyway, they are very honest. So this one picture, I really liked it. Some pictures that, because of pollution, what's happening, the earth is actually experiencing this, it is suffering. Somewhere this corona, maybe I think trying to bring some balance in the nature. So somewhere it is really disastrous, but at somewhere it's giving some good break to our earth, Mother Earth. So these are again few examples. Now coming to earthquakes. So earthquakes, anyway, this is also old picture. Now, if you just type in Google recent earthquakes in news, so you will see many such, continuously there are earthquakes happening. Our earth is continuously moving. Some or other earthquakes are keep on happening every time, but yes, magnitude is very less, and so we don't realize its, that effect. Now, earthquakes and its impact on rural structure. So in this, there are three phases. Okay. So first we have to have awareness about it. In rural structures, what are the effects of earthquake? We need to have that awareness about earthquake and basic information, what it is, and then how it can cause impact on society, and then what is the cutting edge research. So I think we faculty, we are we come in this part, cutting edge research. Now, science behind earthquake, I think everyone knows. So I will, the few slides, I'll just skip them and I'll just go quickly. Okay, so we all know what is the, what do you mean by earthquake? So it is caused by sudden slip on a fault, and there is a movement of tectonic plates. So because of which there is a, cause of friction. And when that stress on the edge overcome that friction, that energy gets released and wave forms, and that is a earthquake. Now, classification of earthquake, so it's based on origin, it's based on location, focal depth, epicentral distance, magnitude. So there is this basic, mostly I keep it for BTech students, so I'll skip that. Intraplate and interplate earthquake. So we are aware this basic knowledge of earthquake. And then earthquake based on focal depth, shallow depth, intermediate depth, very deep. So this is more. Now we are also aware that what are the waves, body waves, surface waves. These are the pictures of waves in earthquake. Now coming to very important picture. I think maybe first two lectures might have shown you this picture, but yes, this particular zonation map, seismic zone map of India, it's in IS 1893, 2002, and now the revision also came. Also from 2016, there are many suggestions on this map as well. So this map will also change maybe. So here we know that we are in zone 2, 3, 4, 5, and 56 to 60% of India, it is under seismic zone 3, 4, 5 in this region. So there is an alarming situation. Now, India, it lies at the northwestern end of Indo-Australian plate, which encompasses India, Australia, a major portion of the Indian Ocean, and other smaller countries. So this plate is colliding against the huge Eurasian plate. You can see the movement over in this diagram. And then this Eurasian plate, this process of one tectonic plate getting under another is called as subduction. So you can see the movement of plate here. So this red line, it's showing us a subduction zone. So this is a picture of 2002. In 18 years, we don't know what is the current scenario over here. What is the current development? Then this is one more picture. This is updated 2016. So we can see here Indo-Gangetic plate. So this is a current update we can see. So location of some significant earthquakes in Indian subcontinent. So you can see wherever big dots are there, that is magnitude more than 8. So that is the dots you can see, and the smaller one. So here it is showing the small dots, that is wherever earthquake came, which was less than 6 magnitude. A little larger dot is showing magnitude of earthquake between 6 to 7 and then 7 to 8. So this is the data of 2016. Then this is little bigger, picture of that major lithotectonic units of Himalaya. So during this, we can say the observation is there has been a regular occurrence of great earthquake in the Himalayas, and currently most of the seismic activity is located south of the main central thrust. So North India is experiencing earthquake. Now and then small shocks we keep on experiencing. Now this peninsular India, even though far less active seismically, has also seen some very damaging earthquakes. So I'll take your attention to this. Koina earthquake 1967, Latur 1993, and Bhuj 2001. Then it is clear that most part of the India are prone to earthquake of varying magnitudes and with varying probabilities of occurrences. So this is the data of past earthquake since 1819 to 2004. Latest earthquakes we also have. Now this was part of my study. Past major earthquakes hit brick masonry construction in India. So what I did, I have considered these 5 spots in our country. Okay. So here Bhuj, Gujarat, then the Chamoli, then Latur, Killari, and Uttarkashi and Assam. These 5 locations I had I have selected, and then I have studied what is the effect of earthquake on brick masonry building. So that was part of my study. We'll come to that. Before that, I have the observation of Latur and Bhuj earthquake. You know, the devastating earthquake at both the places. So Latur 1993, here magnitude was 6.2. Okay, so this is the data we got from government of Maharashtra. Here total people killed, they were 7,600. 7,635 persons were killed in 52 villages. But you know, they were the bad luck they had, because the time was 3:53 in the morning. So people were in deep sleep. It's a very cold night, chilly night. So because of that, you know, people, more number of deaths are there, whereas magnitude is 6.2 only. So there were casualties in almost all villages that experienced an intensity of shaking of 7 or greater. And the earthquake focus was shallow, hence only a small area was affected here, but with a high level of shaking. So they have experienced shaking up to 9 on MSK scale. And the house typology was very vulnerable to seismic shaking. Random rubble masonry was there in mud mortar. So what happens, you know, that when that rubble masonry is there, so what people do on the roof, they keep very heavy stones, so that, you know, if big winds or some cyclone comes, the roof should be there. But during earthquake, what happened, that whatever big boulders on the roof only created, you know, that collapse of the building, and the people could not survive. So that was a negative point of it. And the death toll was quite high, with at least one instance of village losing 1/3 of its population during the shaking. That was really sad. And the median death rate in the 14 villages sustaining a shaking intensity of 9 on the MSK scale was 20% of the population. Now let's see the example of Bhuj earthquake. So here it is magnitude 7.7 and people killed were 13,805. And this earthquake happened 8.46, morning 8:46. So in this case, many people were already outside. So there could have been more death than this, but the timing was little better, so many people were saved. And the earthquake affected a very large area, and the intensity of shaking raised up to 10 on the MSK scale. Now the timing of earthquake was more favorable in this case, and only 0.2% of the population of villages that sustained a shaking intensity of 9 on the MSK scale. The factor of about 100 in death rate between Latur and Bhuj earthquake underlines the importance of looking at regional variation in construction typologies in a diverse country. Now I want to bring your attention here that India is having 6 lakh to 1 million villages. So we have seen this purposely. I kept this example Latur and Bhuj, but we have such 6 lakh 1 million villages and around 100 smart cities. And many typical construction now happens, that is of brick masonry houses. So we really need to work on this area. There is really good work happening, but you know that implementation part is again somewhere that ignorance is there. People are not, technically sound people are not there. Mostly masons are taking care of everything, and they are not that education is not happened to them. So here a few examples of collapse of random construction blocks. Village road in Latur, and then the right side, this is 2001 Bhuj earthquake building. Professor C.V.R. Murthy sir click this. Then this is example of earthquakes. Yeah, I got this from this document, but this is also from Bhuj earthquake, and these are the standard houses which could sustain that earthquake. So the challenges in the Bhuj earthquake of 2001, it highlighted a striking disregard for structural design principle and quality of construction. This earthquake was the first instance of an earthquake causing collapses of modern multi-story buildings in India. And it triggered unprecedented awareness among professionals, academics, and the general public. So one area of major concern is the lack of professional environment to ensure safe construction. Here the term safe construction is being used in a broad sense and not just in the narrow context of seismic safety. So we still have challenges now also. You might be aware of, you know, soft story building. Even in cities we have that challenge. You know, my professor, my guide used to say that I call them as all atom bomb. You know, if you have a soft story building and if you don't have a shear wall, then now also you are, if you are staying in a building, you have to go and see whether your building is a soft story building, means only all openings are there, and if the continuous wall is not there or shear wall is not there, then that is also a danger in case of earthquake. Okay, otherwise then there is no need to worry. So coming to my area of research, to understand behavior of brick masonry building during earthquake, so I have used here applied element method. So it was a Fortran program, discrete element method, a Fortran program I have used. And we have to I have to write down the program. I have to use material models. So whenever we see structural element, they the basics, this is the basics. uh, any structural member we consider, they experience axial, flexure, shear or torsion, right? These are the basic forces. And our life, you know, civil engineers life is around all this. Always we think about axial, shear and flexion, major forces. So in this, when I saw the performance of brick masonry building during past earthquake, so I have observed that there are main 4 types of failure during for such buildings. That is vertical cracks at wall junction, then shear cracks are there, then cracks due to in-plane movement, okay, in-plane movement, and then the failure due to out of plane. That is a wall leading to total collapse. So this is one example of vertical crack. Okay, so this is wall, big wall, and here the vertical crack at the wall junction. Okay, so this is one type of failure you will see, and it is the example from 1993 Killari. This is a beautiful example of shear cracks or 45-degree bidirectional cracks. So shear cracks are always in 45 degree. So this is the example of shear cracks. So here, sliding failure of roof and wall connection due to absence of wall reinforcement. So yes, there was no lintel provided over here, and due to that, you know, there is this failure here, you can see. And the shear cracks are there. So when there is a movement of earthquake here, so these types of, so here you can also see vertical failure. Then these are the shear cracks. Crack number 1, 2 and 3 are shear crack, and crack number 5, maybe, you know, there is some settlement of foundation. So crack number 5 occurred over here. So earthquake is disasters, but you know, it also teaches many things. So we have to learn from the earthquakes, and then we have to work upon it, so as to strengthen our building. Now this is one example, cracks due to in-plane movement of earthquake. So here this is shear and flexural cracks along with separation of wall from roof. So this is one example I have taken. So you can see the connection, there is a failure over here, okay, upper failure, and even the cracks here. So this was because of in-plane movement. And then this is out of plane failure, out of plane, okay. So this rubble, you can see it is collapsed here, so all it's fell down here. So this is a out of plane failure of wall leading to collapse. Now, what is important in this sorry, I was just checking time. Yeah. So what is important here? So the 4 walls are there. Okay. Box section is very important. So when there is a 4 walls are connected properly, so it creates a box section. So this box section I have tried to do in 3D modeling, and it gives more strength and stiffness to the building, which is almost double when compared with the total stiffness of individual wall put together in 2D analysis. So what this particular picture says, if you take individual wall and apply load on it, okay, and when you take a total box, so it has a very good effect. It has a double, I mean, it will give a more strength when it is acting as a box. So box action plays an important role in such building. Now in applied element method, what do we do? First of all, why this method we have chosen? So beauty of this method is that it is capable to show failure. Okay, this particular method is capable to capture the failure from the small crack, from the initiation of crack to the total collapse of the building. Okay, so that's the beauty of this method. And this case, yeah. So here we can see these are the two elements. So here, what do we consider? We divide whole wall in small elements, and here these two elements, they are connected with springs. Okay, so every two element, it is connected with spring, and this spring is having a stiffness of normal and shear. Okay, so you can see this spring which is coming in normal direction, so that is a normal spring, and this is a shear spring. So these two, like this, the whole element on its all directions is connected with springs. So that is the basic concept of applied element method. Now this is discretization of brick masonry. So one brick, it is again divided into small parts. So this is one brick. Okay, and the gray portion you see, that is a mortar bond. So there is mortar bond, wherever mortar is there, so those springs will take that mortar property. And wherever brick is there, it will take that brick property. So here we call unit as a brick spring and the joint as a mortar spring. Now these are the equations what I have used for stiffness of spring in normal direction and shear direction. And this is the brick model. How brick will fail? That is the model. And this is total failure. F1, F2, F3. This shows the failure plane. How the I'm sorry, but I'm getting disturbed. Some voice is coming. Then this F1, F2, F3, these are the failure planes. So we have to model, we have to write this everything in the program, and then we have to use that program and run it, and then we'll see the failure patterns. So this is the model I have used. So for brick masonry, there is a cohesion degradation, bond degradation. So there is a bond between brick and mortar. So how the bond will degrade when earthquake load is coming. Then how is the failure criteria for joint spring, and then hardening and softening for a joint spring. So this is the modeling I have used, and these are the equations which are related to these diagrams. Then there is also concrete in tension and compression, how concrete will behave, how it will fail. Then concrete in shear, how concrete will fail in shear. So these are the models I have used for failure of concrete, and also this is the model for steel. So all material we have to model in, we have to write program about it, and then that program should run. So here in this study, I have considered aspect ratio, means how the wall of different size, how it will behave when some load is acting. So I will, this is my observation here, that when there is aspect ratio, when it is very small, definitely it has very high stiffness and it has very good strength. So we can see this is the diagram of base shear versus drift ratio. And in this, a high aspect ratio is showing very good strength when you take the aspect ratio as 4. So when aspect ratio is increasing, the strength of the wall is decreasing. Then there is also one study about wall openings. You know, this current, we have a fashion of keeping all, you know, nowadays if you see building, a very huge balcony side, whole wall will be open and a beautiful glass will be there. You know, we are going towards that type of lifestyle. But, you know, it actually reduces the strength of the wall. So that is a dangerous thing. So similar study I have done here. I have considered a wall without any opening, and then there is a wall with opening of window. Then there is a different positioning of wall, that one wall is at left side and one wall is in the middle. So in these 4 cases, when I have given loading, so in this I have seen, I mean, it is obvious that the first full infill wall is having a highest strength, but we cannot keep our home closed, right? We have to keep opening. So then the second is infill wall with central opening. It is giving a little lesser strength, but because the wall opening was more over here. And then there's a door opening. It is almost giving the similar strength. Whereas middle door is giving a little better strength. However, they are comparable and both are okay. And then coming to the earthquake forces. So here comparative study of inelastic behavior of RC frame with and without brick infill. So here 4 cases I had considered over here. So here RC frame wall with brick infill with no reinforcement. Then here it is with vertical reinforcement. Then here it is with horizontal reinforcement. And then with both vertical and horizontal reinforcement. So here horizontal reinforcement means reinforcement at the lintel, okay, lintel and sill reinforcement here, and here the vertical reinforcement. So this is the strengthening measure I have considered in this study. And I have considered here 3 earthquakes: the Northeast India earthquake, Uttarkashi earthquake, and Chamoli earthquake. So these are the station details. And then when I've seen the Northeast India earthquake, so this is the acceleration time history I've considered over here. And here we have seen that the 4 cases, that is the roof displacement response, means for this particular wall, when earthquake data, this earthquake was given, then in that case the roof displacement was like this. So here we can see when there is no reinforcement at all. So this is the cracks at peak ground acceleration, the first diagram. And second diagram, if you see, the more number of cracks here when there is no external, no reinforcement. When horizontal reinforcement provided, only the lintel and sill reinforcement provided. So it gives a really good strength. You can see here the number of cracks reduced. You know, these bottom pier cracks, those are totally reduced. So that is the effect of lintel. We have to provide, and we have to advise others that they should provide lintels and sills. It's very important. And then the vertical reinforcement. So provision of vertical reinforcement is also done over here. So at peak ground acceleration, there were no cracks at all, but till the end of the earthquake, because this earthquake was till 16.9 seconds only. So here at the end, there were small, some minor cracks, okay? And when both the horizontal and vertical reinforcement provided, then it has lesser cracks when we see the case number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then coming to the horizontal reinforcement, little elaborate diagram here. So this horizontal reinforcement, when we see, it develops 5 strong components. So what is the observation? That when we provide this reinforcement, so there are this wall gets divided into these components, and they actually they act as a strong components, and they resist the earthquake. And when vertical reinforcement is there, so there are big 1, 2, 3, these 3 number of big components, and there are again some small components which resist the earthquake. And a similar observation was seen here, that what is happening when this reinforcement is provided. Then similar observations were there for Uttarkashi earthquake as well. So when this time history, when we have given this time history for this particular wall, so at no reinforcement, there was a, you can see the number of cracks here at the right side, a huge number of cracks, which were minimized when you provide horizontal reinforcement, vertical reinforcement, and when both the reinforcement is there. So there is definitely a reduction of crack when we provide this reinforcement, and then this was the advice for the provision of reinforcement. So similar observations were seen for the Chamoli earthquake also. So that was the observation. Now so the conclusion was that this RC frame brick infill wall behavior, it depends upon the type of earthquake, peak ground acceleration, what is the duration of earthquake, what is the aspect ratio. So that we have seen. We have also seen the effect of horizontal vertical reinforcement, and then we have seen that how the strong components are forming during this earthquake and how they are resisting it. So that's what we have seen here. And there is one very important study in Tokyo University. Actually, this applied element method program was taken from Tokyo University, and then we have changed it as per our Indian need for India. And then in AEM method, this method was developed in Tokyo University, and then experimental study was done using PP band. So polypropylene bands, like if you go in airport, so they will tie our that baggage with that stiff that plastic and that band. So that kind of band they use, and they cover it to the brick wall. So you can see here how they use it, PP band for this wall. And then they have done the study. So this was also modeled in applied element method and seen, was compared the result, and it was very good in resisting the earthquake. So this is also one way that we can go ahead with this type of bands, and we can save our structures. So this is what presentation I wanted to give. And what is the takeaway from this lecture? That yes, I think we have to remind ourselves again and again that we have witnessed rich ancient civilization, and as our responsibility, civil engineers as a global leaders, so we have to we are responsible for that. And during my study, that this effect of the results from my study, that effect of aspect ratio, it shows lesser aspect ratio, very good strength. And as aspect ratio is increasing, the strength is getting decreased, because the flexure is getting more, flexure is acting there. So because of flexure, it is getting lesser strength. And effect of box section, definitely it is very important, and it gives overall very good strength to the building. Then a study of RC frame infill wall during without any opening and with opening in the middle, and the door at the left and right side, that we have seen here in this particular presentation. And for earthquake loading case, that permanent deformation of RC infill wall with no reinforcement. We have seen with reinforcement, without reinforcement, and we have seen the effect of reinforcement, how it can, the total resistance to earthquake. I mean, a good resistance to earthquake can be, we can get that result by providing this reinforcement. And then provision of reinforcement, it actually helps in minimizing the damage to the wall, and definitely will be, saving more lives. As I have told that, yes, India is having so many number of villages, and that challenge is going to be there upon us. So thank you for listening to me patiently. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Very nice presentation and very innovative topic you have chosen, because it is the need of the hour. So as India is a country where the number of people living in rural area, they are more. So as a technical person, we have to understand this situation also. Right. So I request to all the participants that if there are some questions you can ask to the today's expert session, so you can just type in the chat box, so that we will try to answer some of the questions. And also some few new participants were joined in this session. They can type their mobile number for attendance purpose here. And some questions are requested from the participants for this session.
Yeah, thank you, Disha. Any question? So you can take this topic as your MTech if you are an MTech student.
Madam, there are few questions now coming in the chat box. Does the type of bond also affect it?
Yes.
By Mayank Agrawal.
Yes, it's a very good question. And type of bond does affect, and if we can work on it. But I have not worked on a bond, but I know about it, that it can be your study topic. You can arrange the bricks in such a way, and then see that how it is, which bond is good. Okay, so that can be a study topic. But mostly in India, we hardly, if it is a special structure, then only we will go for some special bond. Otherwise, people just use the regular way of construction. So that's the thing. But you can definitely go with the different types of bonds as well. Yes, and some question is there as we talk about sustainability. How can we use green building concept in seismic design? Seismic design, green building concept. Okay, so green building, I think there maybe I think I'm not a good expert. Okay, as you have knowledge, I think I also have that much knowledge only. But you know how to sustainable. If you say, okay, I can give some insight on that. Means what is that sustainable material we can use to keep that building safe? Like, you know, initially, if you see the round shaped huts, if you observe, you know, in some part of the country, so those simple huts which are made up of some wood, even bamboo, they are really, you know, they are very good in earthquake resistance. So bamboo and some, you know, some mud huts, they could sustain this earthquake. So that was sustainable, I can say, and it can be a green building also. But I am not a, you know, expert on green building, so I cannot tell in that detail. But we can definitely use it. It's again an area of research. What is the ratio of earthquake near to railway line? Sorry, beta. I mean, railway line, I didn't get that question. Can cement be replaced with any other material? A very good question. Yeah, I understood. So cement, yes, there is a lot of work is going on, and I think you must be working in this area. You know, fly ash. We are trying to use more of fly ash in place of cement. And not a complete replacement is not possible. Maximum replacement is what people are using till 30% only. So that much is only again it's a part of research study. So what I'm telling, the brick masonry building, yes, cement is there, but the concrete, the more building, you know, number of stories they are increasing. So cement is currently, uh, we are going to use that, and I don't see any, you know, for cities especially, that will be there. But yes, other materials, there is a lot of research going on. That everyone is, I mean, they are working on it. That how can we replace cement? But currently, cement is number one. We cannot deny that fact. It's a fact.
Thank you, ma'am. And wonderful session now here. Again, there are some few questions. So some participants can also unmute themselves and then directly can ask the question over here. Or then otherwise, we will stop for this session, and again, next session will again begin at 2:30 using the appropriate link.
Yeah, this cement can be recovered as steel can be in demolition. Yes, yes, it is possible. It is happening. I mean, people are, you know, that destroyed building, they are using that material, and then it's getting crushed in industry, and there that is getting used.
Thank you, ma'am, having this wonderful session for this STDP. And with the short invitation, you accepted our invitation as an expert speaker and delivered this session. So we are very much thankful.
Thank you, sir.
And on the behalf of Department of Civil Engineering, Professor Ram Meghe, College of Engineering and Management, Vednera, I thanks to Dr. Dongre madam and all the participants for being with this session. And now today, officially, we are ending this session here. And in next session, again at 2:30, we will meet you again with another speaker, Dr. Yogesh Kose sir. So there we are starting our hands-on session on ETAB for earthquake resistant design. So thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'll leave the session.
So now we will end this session here. And again, 10 minutes before the Zoom session will be started, participant can join before 10 minutes. And then at exact 2:30, our next speaker is ready with his dynamic presentation on ETAB software. So now we will again meet there at 2:30. So thanks for this afternoon here. Thank you once again.